Because realizing that something is for you is great, but realizing that something isn't for you is equally as valuable. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Emma, and this is the Sewing Diaries, a series where I take you along with me as I learn how to make my own clothes. In 2025, I dedicated 4 months to an intensive sewing program to learn sewing from scratch, to be equipped with all the skills that I need should I want to start a career in the fashion industry. So let's do a quick recap of all the sections that we covered, my expectations going into the program, as well as where I am at now upon leaving the program. This program I followed was offered by Luvinus, a tailoring academy here in the heart of Hanoi, and all the lessons are conducted in Vietnamese. There are weekend courses, part-time courses, but the one that I enrolled in was 5 days a week, 4 hours every morning from 8 to 12. And the idea is that after 4 months, you're basically equipped with the basic tools to enter the fashion industry, should you so choose. Sometimes you have people who are brand new to sewing enter the program, and other times you have fashion students at the local university enrolled to have more hands-on practice. For our class in particular, most of us were here because we wanted a change in our careers, maybe chasing a long-lost childhood dream. Okay, here's what we learned. The first leg of the program was learning how to measure and make women's dress shirts, which is essentially learning to put together a basic tailored top. And then we elongated the dress shirt into a bodycon dress. And from this, we also made our bodice blocks. After that, we cut the bodice block in half and worked with the lower body, so skirt variations. After that, top variations, and when you put the top and the skirt together, what you now have are gown variations. All the gowns, the dresses that you can think of, you can now make. After that, we had our midterm project where we had to dissect reference photos and tailor those designs to our specific measurements. This was a very tiring leg, but rewarding nonetheless, because I got to make some of my favorite pieces ever. We learned to make women's pants, and then intro to menswear, basically learning how to clone existing men's clothes. We also learned to make baby clothes. It's essentially not too far off from men's clothes, similar proportions, no curves or whatever, but just a lot smaller. And then the final leg of the program was making women's blazers. And this was the most difficult leg of them all. It was a culmination of all the skills that we had learned. Besides attending 5 morning sessions, we were also learning fashion illustration 3 times a week in the evening. So this was the hardest leg of them all. I was really struggling by the end, I'm not gonna lie. The workload and homework between the 2 classes were just insane. If you're interested in any of these particular topics, I go more in depth into these chapters in individual videos linked somewhere on this screen. And now that you're all caught up with what I did during the last 4 months of class, let's move on to what we learned. One of the most fascinating things I learned in this process was analyzing reference photos. You're looking at a 3D piece of clothing, a 3D garment, and then you have to reverse engineer it back into a 2D piece of paper. You have to be able to draw it flat before you cut it out, lay it onto fabric, reconstruct a 3D model out of that 2D piece of paper or fabric. And I think the reverse engineering brain that goes into this, it's not as easy as you'd think it is. I personally find it to be a very impressive chain of logic that you have to go through in order to create or recreate a garment. And at the same time, we were taught very good sewing technique and workflow, and that helped us with our efficiency and precision while sewing. And by the time the 4 months were up, we were assigned a final project where we would make 8 full outfits, not 8 garments, 8 outfits, where we would display all the skills that we had been taught up to that point. And maybe there is a common thread connecting all the pieces together, a theme, a certain motif, or an element that is a nod to you as a budding designer. And that would become a part of our portfolio to show to other designers that we want to work for in the future. I had ideated everything. I had my mood board set out. I chose my fabric. I even went fabric shopping, prepped the fabric and everything. I even drew up the designs. And when it came time to sit down and cut the fabric out and sew everything together, I just couldn't do it. I realized that I have a specific approach when it comes to design. I need a very clear purpose of what this garment will be used for, what problem it's going to solve, and from that I can build a very clear vision of what I want to make, and then I can design. For instance, let's say I'm attending an event at the Opera House, which is a place that calls for fancier garments. I know that I can use more extravagant fabrics that I would not use on a daily basis. I would make some sort of gown, somewhat modest, but also a little bit extravagant. Or let's say I want to make a pair of pajama bottoms. I know that I want it to be big and comfy with a cute print and big pockets. Basically, very clear guidelines for what I want to make. And only then would I be able to bring forward my best work. My approach to design is very utilitarian. I also want the garment to be well used and well loved, becoming a staple in my closet or someone's closet. So essentially for me, I don't create art for the sake of art. My art needs to serve a certain purpose. It needs to solve a problem in my life, which is why I realized that I am not fit for designing haute couture garments at all. Yeah, my mom always laughs at me when I say haute couture with a very strong American accent. There are designers out there that create art for the sake of art, and they enjoy the design process enough to the point where it doesn't really matter if the garment is worn once or multiple times or not at all. Because when you're designing for haute couture, most of the time, the garment probably gets worn once on the runway model, maybe a second time on a celebrity, and then if it's lucky, a potential third time some decades down the line when they're bringing like older pieces out from a collection. And for the rest of the time, the garment stays behind glass to be looked at, to be admired from afar. And I don't think that is the type of designing that I enjoy. For the designers and the artisans who are part of the haute couture industry, I have so much respect for them because obviously they're putting in hours upon hours of work on this one garment that is art for the sake of art, really. Functionality, questionable, but it is a great representation of the human imagination and our ability to bring that to life. Back to the final project. 8 outfits are a lot of outfits, and I didn't have clear purposes for each of them, which meant that yes, I could probably pull together a comprehensive collection to fulfill the requirements of the program to graduate. But it wouldn't be my best work because I would not be too sure what I was creating for. I didn't want to put work into garments that I know from the get-go that I wouldn't love. Chances are it will just sit there and gather dust in my closet rather than being worn. So I decided that I would not do the final project and I would just sew at my own pace, design at my own pace should certain events come up. If I were to be completely honest, I prefer buying patterns from designers that I already like and then just having the peace of mind of getting to sit down, cut out fabric and sew. I don't love pattern making from scratch. So if I were to complete the final project without a clear vision, it would be a disservice to the time and effort that I put towards this work as well as to the fabric because, it's gone through a lot of processes to become the fabric that I have in my hand. And now to create a garment that I know I won't use doesn't seem like the life that the fabric would want to have. So now I don't design way too much, but I do tweak existing designs, and I love doing that with tote bags because those are so useful. Again, back to my utilitarian way of designing. For instance, I bought this tote pattern from Tint of Mint, and the original pattern is pretty big. So I shrunk the design, and then my mom said she wanted a bag that could hold her documents, something that's a little bit more secure. So I enlarged the bag again and then added a crossbody sling so that my mom could distribute the weight between her hips and her shoulder. And then I also added a zipper to keep everything tight and secure inside that bag. This program had taught me enough about sewing technique where I could just troubleshoot in my head. Ooh, I have a trip coming up soon, and I really want to create this bag in the version that would match my suitcase. A bag that has some sort of detachable handle that I can slip over the handle of my suitcase, or have enough compartments inside the bag to fit the stuff I need when I'm traveling on a plane. Because there are very clear guidelines, I can go ahead and start doing my research, look up existing designs, pull inspiration from different places, and build something that serves specific purposes. Going into the program, honestly, I was expecting to be equipped with enough knowledge to step into a new career. And I'll be honest, when I started this YouTube channel, it also coincided with the point where I was starting to learn how to sew. And a part of me was very curious to see where this sewing journey would lead me. And if I ever made it big as a fashion designer, I would have had it all self-documented from the very beginning. And I thought that was such a cool concept. And as of filming this video, I am about 2 years into sewing. I realized that a career in the fashion industry is not something I'm interested in. I just enjoy sewing for myself. And it's so difficult to create something that looks good for other people. At least in my case, like even when I was trying to make dress pants for my brother, that kind of fell apart. And even though I put in the due diligence, I do it with even more effort than I sew clothes for myself. The end results just look really off in some sort of way. And I'll take that as life's way of telling me that it's okay for your hobby to just be for yourself. It's okay if this is a purely self-indulgent activity. Like, I'm not out here being a menace to society by just sewing for myself, so I think it's okay. Had I not done this 4-month intensive, I probably would still be clinging on to the idea of a career in the fashion design industry. So it's not like a dream was broken. I had the environment, the opportunity to immerse myself deeply enough into this craft to know that it's not for me in like a professional sense. Because realizing that something is for you is great, but realizing that something isn't for you is equally as valuable. As of filming this video, we are now in February 2026, which makes it 6 months actually since I finished that program. And to be honest, by the final month of the program, I was struggling, you guys. We were learning 5 days in the morning, 3 days in the evening. My whole life at that time was consumed between sewing, designing, drawing, illustrating, all that good stuff. The reason I was able to pull through was because I knew I was so close to the finish line, and I had classmates who were doing this with me. And just the workload there. Yeah, this is a taste of what it could be like if I start a career. I don't think that's what I enjoy. And that could change in the future. Who knows? Maybe 10, 20, 30 years down the line, I suddenly want to build something, create something, some sort of wearable, usable brand. Then yeah, this would definitely serve that. But even if it didn't, I would still be completely happy with the choice that I made to enroll myself in this 4-month intensive. I now have a skill that has continued to be a very rewarding hobby. I've actually started to make a couple of the garments that were part of my initial collection. Occasions have come round for me to bring those garments to life. This right here that I'm wearing is like a cropped trench coat. It's not my personal design. It's from Dressmaking Amore, which is one of the pattern houses that I've been using for about 2 years now, ever since I started getting into sewing. Look how cool this is actually. Isn't it giving like samurai? Actually, I found out about them even before I decided to sew. Their designs and their video tutorials were one of the main reasons why I felt sewing was an approachable craft in the first place. And after like 6 months to a year of watching their tutorials, I decided that now is the time to learn how to sew. Emma, do you want to go for the rest of your life? Go into your grave not knowing how to sew? And the resounding answer was, hell no. I want to learn how to sew. Ooh, when I finished the sewing program in August, in September in Vietnam, we had this very big celebration of 80 years of our independence. And what that meant were a lot of military parades in the city. So lots of events of seeing people in combat uniform parading the streets. You know what? I think I've realized what my dream job is in the fashion industry, and that would be to design combat clothing. Obviously, you have different troops working in different environments that calls for different types of fabrics. Maybe some units need more breathable fabric. Maybe some units need more radiation-proof fabric. Maybe they need a certain pattern of camouflage for whichever environment it is that they're working in. Certain types of holsters or pockets to hold certain equipment in their unit. There's a lot of research actually that goes into this field of making combat clothing. It is a piece of garment that is totally functional. Like, there are actually a lot of fashion staples that were a product, that were a result from military wear. Take the trench coat, for example. I'll have a video talking about it in more detail linked down below, but essentially it was created, if I'm not mistaken, in the British military back in the days, and there were a lot of functional elements to the garment. For example, I don't have it here, but like the epaulets on a trench coat is so that you can hang certain things off of it, hang a gas mask. There's like a flap in the back of the trench coat so that rain would wash off your garment, a little flap in the front so that rain would not fall into the opening of the garment. Everything is so functional, and I freaking love it. And historically, the fabric for trench coat is a type of cotton gabardine. It's breathable, but it's weather repellent, which is very important when you're deep in the trenches in the war zone. Maybe I'm a fashion for function type of girl. But yes, all in all, very happy with the fact that I enrolled in this 4-month program. I'm still sewing, just leisurely, probably like once or twice a week at this point. And I'm really enjoying that pace. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!